script, let's say. Um, so we're really delighted that everybody's come to this. I mean, we've never launched an event since owning the chili farm. Sorry, launched a product since owning a chili farm, and much less invite people for a launch. We'd normally just try and sell it online and in a shop, and just it'll sort of be a quiet event. So this time we try to bring people along with the journey. So to give you a little bit of a background, Jenny and I have owned the chili farm for 3 years now. This June made 3 years, and I think 3 years on, it doesn't feel like we're newbies anymore. It feels like we're fully embedded. Um, and after 3 4 years, you don't want to keep drumming on about the fact that you've owned a chili farm for 3 years. You kind of need to move on. But I will touch on a little bit about the history of the chili farm, because it has some relevance as to why the product is the way it is and what we're going to try and do going forward with the farm for the next sort of 20 years. Because the chili farm has been around since 2003, so many years now. It's an institution in the area. Um, and when the chili farm started all those years ago, chilies were very new to the UK. It wasn't something that you find readily available. And your best chance of finding chilies and stuff would be like, dare I say, an immigrant supermarket, places like Brixton, just where immigrant communities were sort of thriving. And even then, in those locations, you still wouldn't get really exciting chilies. You'd get your bog standard Scotch bonnet, you get your green curry chili, whatever that might be. Um, and, there wasn't much to choose from, right? So the chili farm as an institution sort of significantly changed that to the point where nowadays, every 3 4 months, there's another article in the Guardian, Good Food, New York Times, Good Food, various places talking about chilies and how useful they are and how versatile and all that sort of stuff. So every few months we get asked for comments on chilies and things like that. So I think it's suffice to say that the products that we've been making for all those years has left a lasting impression on the food scene in the UK. I think it it's sort of surprising that a small business started creating products that has significantly influenced the type of products available in the UK and people's perception of chilies and stuff. Because you go across the country, not everybody knows who we are, but anybody who's been buying chili products would have come across the chili farm at some point. So we have influenced that UK palette for chilies. Um, Many of the products that we have today, well, most of them, were sort of inherited when we took on the business, right? We're never going to get rid of products that sells well, the classic chili jam and all the other sauces. But those products, especially the sauces in particular, were created at such an early time in the farm when not many people knew about chilies. So Steve and Kaz and all the other old directors, when they created products, they were trying to make products that were very specific to the chilies being used. So they created a cherry bomb chili sauce and a jalapeno chili sauce. And that served well for many years. It's not that way anymore. Um, the What we're finding is that people now with a more adventurous palate, they want different flavors. They want combinations of flavors. They don't just want a jalapeno sauce. They want something else with more complementary flavors, other ingredients, and importantly, they want a story behind it. They don't just want to buy a chili sauce off the shelf. They want to know why that sauce was created, what's the inspiration, what's the historical connection with the ingredients. People want a story when they buy something. So this is what we're trying to do in the next 20 years, is create products that tell that story and have more complementary flavors. So over the last few months, we launched a mango chili sauce and a ginger and lime chili chocolate. So we never did a big shout about that because it was effectively Jenny and I's approach to sort of dip our toes in the water of new product development and test out what the appetite will be for new products that we want to bring to the market. And the sort of the reception has been really good. So we initially thought mango chili sauce was going to be a limited edition because mangoes are really expensive and everything, but it's going to stick around because it's selling really well. People like it, and people like the fact that it's 100% mango. It's not diluted down with anything else. It's pure, tastes really good. So we did that with the mango, and we did that with the ginger and lime chili chocolate, pushing the boundaries of flavors, changing up how we do things. And um, then we started thinking, well, this is our first sort of foray into new product development, tropical flavors. And because I'm originally from Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean, we thought it will be really a wasted opportunity if I didn't take a page out of Levi Root's playbook, right? He leveraged his culture extremely well. So we may not get to that level where he is, but we know we're taking an example of what he did, and people now recognize his product and his brand. So we're trying to do the same with my heritage and what we do with the Chili Farm. So what we did was Jenny and I came up with the idea, and then together with our chef Dan, who is not here today, and the rest of the team at the Chili Farm, we created Manzanilla Tropical Chili Jam, and to bring you the flavors that I grew up with into a product, right? So most, if not all of you, would wonder what is Manzanilla, where is Manzanilla, what's the relevance of that? So Manzanilla is a tropical beach on the east coast of Trinidad, on the Atlantic coast. It's a long stretch of pristine white sand, palm trees, very idyllic. And it's a very, very sort of place which is very prized locally and internationally. So, because of its pristine nature, you get leatherback turtles nesting on the beach. And those are turtles that have migrated from Madagascar all the way across the Cape to Trinidad, to that one beach to nest. And these are the giant leatherback turtles. So, when my dad was in the army, he was posted sometimes at that beach to guard the nesting of the turtles because it's that protected. And me and my sisters grew up seeing the turtles come in because you only ever see them in the nighttime, and they come in under moonlight, and you see shadows of them going out, but they're this big, 2-3 meters across. They're huge. And there's also manatees living in one of the rivers in the area there. So it's a really prized local area, mostly visited by locals or the really intrepid, adventurous tourists who want to see that type of nature. So what's the relevance with me then? So in Trinidad during the carnival season, um, my family and I would go to Manzanilla Beach to cool down, as you'd say, and that's a phrase we use a lot in Trinidad. And you cool down from the carnival because it's quite intense. Um, and for those of you who don't know, the Trinidad Carnival is world famous. It's not, if not the most famous carnival. It's very different from the Rio Carnival. In the Rio Carnival, you're a spectator, you look on, whereas in the Trinidad Carnival, you partake. You are the carnival. Whether or not you're on the sidelines, if you're wearing the feathers or beads, you are part of the carnival. Um, and you'll see feathers and stuff and headdresses dotted around. That's from our trips to those carnivals. And you speak to anybody from Trinidad and Tobago, that carnival is not just a thing we prize there. It's part of our national heritage, our identity. We can't separate the two. So when we decided to create this tropical chili jam, we wanted to reflect those flavors that come with carnival, come with that euphoric feeling you get when you're at the carnival and then when you go to the beach. So we've been going to that beach in Manzanilla since I was a kid and since my dad was a kid. And whenever we'd go to the beach, we would always take pineapples. Just a note on pineapples. So my family have been growing pineapples in Trinidad commercially um, for many, many years. My grandparents were coffee farmers, cocoa farmers, then they changed to pineapple. So I grew up eating it directly from the fields. When I first took Jenny back, I took her into a pineapple field. She never knew what that was. She just knew of a pineapple in Tesco. And, so she got to see what proper pineapples look like. And as a teenager, I had a stall on the side of the road selling pineapples to make pocket money. Um, and we'd always, so we relish in pineapples. It's really weird in that, you would think being from a tropical island, you have access to all these tropical fruits, including pineapples. It wouldn't be a big deal, but it's still a prized thing there. No matter where you go, any household, if they've got a ripe pineapple, they want to cut it up and serve you some because it's something really nice and fresh. Um, so we'll also make a thing called chow, which is a pineapple salsa, and take it to the beach. It's got coriander. It doesn't have onions and things like that, but it's something that we make with the pineapples to enjoy at the beach, cooling down after the carnival. So when we decided to say, right, we're going to make this product, we think we'll call it along the lines of manzanilla or something like that. We knew we wanted to combine pineapple and then other ingredients. So we started thinking, well, what flavors would work together? And we decided what ginger is an obvious one, lemongrass and lemon peel, because we wanted to create those tropical flavors that work with pineapple. So we knew these flavors would work in theory, And we knew that the product will taste good when we combine those flavors, but we weren't ready for how good it tasted. We just didn't expect it to taste as good as it's turned out to be. So when we asked Dan to put these ingredients together and produce a chili jam for us, and then we taste and iterate and stuff, we were blown away. So that's why we created the Manzanilla tropical chili jam, and that's it. Yeah.
So, sorry, just trying to turn this on. If anyone has any burning questions for Amrit, please ask away. But I thought to start with, you could maybe tell us a bit more about how in the Caribbean they use these flavours in other elements. You've mentioned one, the chow there, but any other ways that you use?
So you'd notice a giant lemongrass if you go down to the show tunnel. Lemongrass for us is we never use it in the same way the sort of people in Thailand, for example, would use it. We grew up using it in teas. So that giant lemongrass started from a little cutting that big that I grew from a piece that I found in a supermarket. And now people are buying the plants from us and they're using it across the country. We're growing up, on a Sunday morning, your parents would send you outside to pick a piece of lemongrass because you'd make lemongrass tea for the family. That's what we do with lemongrass.
It's the main way.
That's the main way in making tea, either as a cold brew or as a hot drink in the morning. And ginger, we use ginger a lot to make teas. We make a flan, which is ginger flavored. It's surprisingly, ginger is spicy as a sort of almost savory ingredient, but it works well with sweet ingredients as well. So we make a flan with ginger. We use it in some of our curries, but again, in the Caribbean, it's not used in curries in the same way that we inherited those cultures when all the immigrants came to Trinidad. We've changed it completely. So we've got our own uses there. And then things like lemon peel, which we've used in the product as well. Every household in Trinidad will have a bit of lemon peel hanging outside their kitchen window, drying from the lemon or the orange that they've cut. And that dried lemon peel then goes into making a tea together with the buds of the lemon tree or the lemongrass. So all those flavors, we use them in different ways. So when I told my family we made a tropical jam back home, they all want to try it.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So you've got so many different types of chilies.
Yeah.
How did you choose which type of chili to put in the Manzanilla?
Well, that's the clever thing, and it's a little bit of a nice to have situation for us in that. But when you make something like a tropical chili jam, you never taste the chilies except the heat from the chilies. So we have to choose a chili that will give us the heat that can be predictable year on year without it being too difficult for us to grow. So we look at all the other chilies we're growing and we say, well, what can we guarantee a harvest of each year? And then we'll dry that chili or use it as fresh or whatever it might be. And we'll pick that one because we can then modulate the heat without it influencing the flavor. Because the jam is not designed to taste like peppers, which is what chilies would taste like, a pepper, a bell pepper. It tastes off the product, the main ingredients of the pineapple and the lemongrass and stuff. And you get the heat to what we wanted. And we can keep getting that every year without it tasting like the chilies.
And there was also a colour consideration with this recipe.
Yeah, there's a colour one as well.
Because obviously pineapple's the main ingredient, so you want it to have that kind of colour. So
yeah, so you pick something which is orangey yellow.
Yeah.
But you try not to go too much down the red route because the red chilies will eventually oxidize and start changing the jam to a little bit more of a browny colour. So you're trying to avoid that. But it's still a natural product, so the natural colours will change season on season.
Which type of chili do you use?
We're using a mix of orange habaneros, Scotch bonnets, and fetalis, that sort of thing, because they're all around the habanero heat level, and all the colors that we get from those chilies could be roughly similar. So it could be a mix of any one of those at any one point in time. The standard chili jam is a top secret. We don't say what's in that one because that one's
just say chili.
That one I wouldn't give away what's in that classic chili jam, but I'll tell you what's in the tropical one because that's the direction we're going in. But the classic chili jam is a top secret because it's so prized by everybody.
Yeah.
It is different, yeah, it's different.
So the heat level of the chilies that's in the Manzanilla is about 250,000 Scovilles.
Yeah,
roughly.
But the product isn't that.
Yeah, so that was a big part of the recipe development process, was figuring out what ratio of chili to other product goes in there, because you're working with really hot chilies, but you want something that is spicy enough to notice it when you eat it, but everyone can enjoy it. You know, it's because if you
How
just
does that compare with the standard?
It's like
so this one is a little bit warmer than the standard like original chili jam. I think we've labelled it as medium heat. This one,
Yeah.
It's got a little bit more kick, so I'd say it's between the original and the hot chili jam in terms of a heat level.
When you eat it neat, it feels spicy,
Yeah.
spicier than it actually is. But when you pair it with other things that you'll try today, you'll see it's very mild in that sense.
Yeah.
But if you take a dollop of it, you think, oh, that's quite spicy.
But yeah, there was quite a lot of back and forth between us and Dan and other team members who help us taste test when we're developing new product.
Yeah, we obviously
decide what
get
was the right
everybody's
balance.
involvement when we make a new product, because who better to try it than the people who've been here all these years and know what tastes good and what doesn't taste good. So unfortunately for the chef Dan, when he's cooking a batch of anything, he has to try it because it has to go through that testing stage before it gets bottled. Chili jam is an easy one, but at 7 o'clock in the morning trying a Reaper chili sauce is not is not for the faint-hearted. So you kind of eventually learn what tastes good and what doesn't taste good.
What tastes right and what doesn't.
What tastes right. Yeah.
How many batches did you try before you settled on this recipe?
About
I think 3 or 4.
3 or 4. Okay. So we gave Dan the brief. We said to him, look, because he's relatively new to us as well. He's only been here just over a year. So we said to him, look, we want to make a tropical jam. These are the ingredients and the flavors we want to use. We gave him the brief and what we think it'll taste like and the rough quantities, because we don't know. And then he went into the kitchen, played around, come back with a few options, and we tweaked it from there. And it only took 1 or 2 tweaks, because the first batch he made was really good. It just wasn't exactly what we wanted, but on its own it would have been perfectly fine. So we just iterated a little bit.
Yeah, and there's some things you can iterate while you're cooking, so you don't have to start from scratch, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But then they have like a certain time window before it starts to set or it starts to go beyond a certain point, and then you're like, right, well, I've just got to start a new batch now to try something else.
Exactly. So he would have made a regular sized batch you do at home on a jam pot, right? But then you scale that up into the big cooker, which you'll see. It doesn't work. It's not a linear scale. So you can't suddenly say we used 5 grams of this, it's going to be 50 grams. It definitely doesn't work like that. You start off less than what you think, because the vat is evaporating as you're doing it. And if you get to the point where the jam is ready, because you need all the flavors to mesh together really well before you say it's good enough, but you're also tasting it hot, which is not the right way. You have to wait for it to cool down. Meanwhile, the thing is evaporating, and you don't want to keep adding water because it'll start breaking down the ingredients more and more. And you've got this narrow window where it's 60% sugar saturation. It needs to be jarred, and you want to change the ingredients, and you decide, I don't want to waste 60 liters of product because it's not economical to do that. So you kind of quickly iterate to get the product. And luckily for us, we managed to guesstimate where those ingredients amounts would be.
Lots of pots going at the same time.
Just one.
Just one.
Yeah. We're not at that stage yet, but it's still a big pot holding 60 liters, and it's hot and it's steamy. And
so we do lots of small batch cooks, like kind of at a home size scale, if you like, before it goes into the big cooker. But then the first time it goes in the big cooker, Amrit is hovering around.
Yeah, myself and Ben, we're testing it just because you have very little time to alter that. If you can afford to throw away a whole batch, fine. But that's a lot of product and ingredients would have been wasted, so we can't afford to do that. So we just changed it really quickly, and luckily we landed on what works.
Not luckily, it was expertly done.
Expert,
I have another question. Sorry, I'm asking too many questions. So I'm like your barbecue chili sauce goes on sausages. Your chili jam goes on scones and cheese.
Yeah.
What would you recommend this to be eaten with?
So it's a sweet chili jam rather than a savory chili jam. So it doesn't have onions in that sense. So we always talk about the onions being the savory element in the classic chili jam. This one will go well with everything else that you've talked about. Really good with Scotch eggs, sausages. What we've found out is really good with like a grilled halloumi skewer. And I'm on the cusp of doing some videos and trialing it with ice cream, with vanilla ice cream. And I don't know if there's any Italians in the room, but in the same way you'd put pineapple on pizza, you see where I'm going with it? It might work, who knows? But with ice cream, I think it would work really well because it's a sweet chili jam. We've had mango chili mochi ice creams before from Korean restaurants. So there's no reason why it wouldn't work that way. And you'll try it here today with some Sharpham cheese. We've got Sharpham at the back. some really creamy Elmhurst, and it works phenomenally well. So when I went and visited Sharpham and got some samples and came back and tried it with the team, we were scoffing it. It was just working so well. And then Jenny's made up some cocktail sausages and various other things to try it
We've
with.
used it as a marinade on various things since we started making it, and it works really well.
Yeah, we think it's going to be here. It's going to be here to stay. We think it works that well. So if there's not any more questions, sure.
How long does it take you from like, I've got an idea, to here's the pot?
It's a good question. When
That's
did
a
we
great
start thinking
question.
about that?
End of last year?
End of last year.
Yeah.
And so we do everything in house. So we make the jam. The label design is Jenny's drawing and my illustration on the computer, and then get it printed. So we don't send it off to anybody else for cost reasons, obviously, but we just do it ourselves. So we can make it quicker than you would manage to do otherwise. It would normally take a year for a whole new product to be commercialized. Yeah, and if we had more time to dedicate directed at it, we would have done it faster. But that time is actually useful because it gives you breathing time to rethink ideas and change things. But it's literally two of us sat there drawing it, thinking, yeah, that looks nice, that doesn't look nice. Put it in amongst everything else, see if it looks good, do the colors mesh. But you'd notice that the colors on the chili jam is very different from all of our other products. So that's the step change we're doing in trying to make our products stand out a little bit more. Because we're now.
Nearly ruined your marriage though. Because you disagreed with each other's pictures.
I don't know. It gets
heated
tense at
debate.
times. Yeah, heated at times. Because I'm not good at drawing, but I'm good at the digital side of things and making the label. So Jen will give me her brief, and then I'll do some stuff, and we'll go back and forth. But imagine that's just us in like 5 minutes. Back and forth for days and weeks with a marketing agency would take ages.
Well, it takes us more than 5 minutes overall.
Yeah. But we are taking that step change in the marketing and the positioning of our products against the rest of the marketplace. We inherited a really strong brand, really good colors, but the colors a little bit different from the direction we want to take it, with a tropical feel to it, which is why everything's now bold and different. And it's not just bold and garish without reasons behind it. We're telling a story as to why it is that way. So the colors come from the headdress, which Carnival, exactly. There's one picture of me wearing some of the costumes there. There's more that isn't company friendly to see. I can show you later on.
Get the personal Facebook out if anyone wants to see them.
But it really is a personal product. We took inspiration from all our experiences at Carnival to make that product. So yeah.
Brilliant. So this also is part of what we're calling our Caribbean collection, which now has 3 products in it. So that is the Manzanilla tropical chili jam, the ginger and lime chili chocolate, and the mango chili sauce. There's samples out of the other parts of the trio today, but if anyone's interested, then there is an offer on that trio today as well, and which Becky can tell you more about at the till. But for now, unless there's any burning questions, I mean, you'll feel free to ask Amrit as you walk around. Amrit's going to take you on a tour of the farm, which will last about 45 minutes.
Yeah, we'll do a nice big loop around the farm. You can see how we grow things, what happens outside, and then eventually what happens in there.
And by the time you come back into the shop, I will have got all of the lovely tasty samples ready, and I will bring them around, and feel free to have a browse. And we're going to put on some Trinidad Carnival music as well for you to enjoy.
Yeah, I won't be anymore. So yeah, if you'd like to follow me in this way, we'll